Well, recently he did an interview where he pointed towards NIL being one of the factors as to why he left his head coaching position at a Power 5 school to go be a defensive coordinator in the NFL. What kind of multiverse are we living in? That doesn't even make sense, but here we are, and I ain't complaining. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we got not one, not two, but three topics to talk about today in the college football world. And I think it's more than safe to say we got a pretty rare occasion on our hands because it's not every day we got a jam-packed video in the offseason, so we got to cherish these moments while we got them. And one of those topics we're going to speak on is something that is somewhat slid under the radar, but I definitely think it needs more recognition because a college football head coach just stated the main reason he left college football is because of the NIL. A head coach in the Power 5 left his head coaching position to accept a defensive coordinator position in the NFL. We're going to talk all about that also, and Ohio State quarterback is already hyping up the matchup versus Michigan for next year. That caught my attention, and the main topic of today's video, without a shadow of a doubt in my mind, is no other than college game day. It's changing. There's a lot of rumors and speculation going around, especially involving no other than the man, the myth, the legend himself, Lee Corso. Get you a popcorn, get you a snack. It's going to be an interesting video to say the least. You know how the intro goes. All right, Matt, blah, blah, shut the crap out. Now, do. Let's get into it. All right, first things first. Let's start with this, the Ohio State quarterback situation. Well, it's not even really a situation, but some people are sending it to me, and I figured, hey, well, now we'll throw it in the video. So one of Ohio State's new quarterbacks, Aaron Nolan, he posted on Instagram, was his Instagram story, a picture of the Ohio State Buckeyes helmet and the Michigan helmet and put 296 days referring to the game. If you don't know what that means, I'll clarify even more. Ohio State and Michigan, from when he posted that, they play in 296 days. And this isn't even the first time I've seen an Ohio State player already talking about the Michigan game, and hey, I'm happy, I'm glad they get it. The Michigan matchup, it's pretty much their national championship at this point. That game means everything to them, and it should, but I think about hyping this up already and putting this much pressure on yourself and the fan base, you're setting yourself up for disappointment if somehow, someway you do lose. Why do I say that? Because Michigan, honestly, at this point in time, they could care less. Well, I'm not going to say could care less, but they're not going to be upset if they lose next year or even the year after. They are on a 3-game winning streak against Ohio State, in which all 3 of those games, they were not better than Ohio State and they weren't more talented than Ohio State. The only reason Michigan has beat Ohio State the past 3 years is because of coaching. That's pretty much it. And I'm not trying to take anything away from J.J. McCarthy, Corm, and all the veteran leaders Michigan had last year because they had a great team. But y'all know what I'm saying. From a talent standpoint, player versus player, Michigan really isn't even close to Ohio State's level. And also, to go on top of all of that, Michigan just won a national championship. They are going to be content for a bare minimum in the next 5 or 6 years. Michigan has this huge weight lifted off of their chest, and I think that fan base, even if they went 2-10 next year, they still wouldn't be too upset. On the contrary, though, for good old little bro state here, which is Ohio State, they got all the pressure in the world on them. Every year that slowly goes by where they don't win a championship, the pressure just continues to amount even more. All in all, though, I'm glad the Ohio State players are hyping this up because that shows me they care and it means something to them. Remember what happened last year, right? Kyle McCord, he stated, these are his words, not mine. The Michigan game, it's quote-unquote just another game. And if you're the starting quarterback for a team and you have that mentality, that's just not a good one because it's not just another game. I'm happy to see the backup quarterback, though. He knows how much this game means. Moving along here, though, to our second topic. This one's really interesting to me, so let's take a look at it. Boston College's former head coach, Jeff Hafley, he wound up leaving Boston College to take a job as a defensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers, which at the time I didn't think too much about it, and I don't think anybody else did either. Well, recently he did an interview where he pointed towards NIL being one of the factors as to why he left his head coaching position at a Power 5 school to go be a defensive coordinator in the NFL. It's being stated that Hafley got tired of spending his time getting Boston College donors to set up NIL funds for top players. Quote unquote, now that I'm the general manager and you're trying to manage the cap and you don't really know the cap or what it is, and you're fundraising. I want to coach football. In other terms here, dumb this down, Hafley was stating, yeah, I got tired of being a manager at the college level. I just want to coach. And this is a really good argument and conversation we need to have because I don't think people are talking about this enough. You have seen it and you will continue to see coaches leave because they're tired of the NIL and they don't want to deal with it. They want to coach. We've seen it already with Hafley. He stated NIL is a reason he left. I think Jim Harbaugh, that's a reason he left, and you could say the same thing for Nick Saban. I know Saban was getting older, but you got to assume with the NIL and transfer portal and all that chaos going on, that played into his decision somewhat. And I don't think I gotta break this down for you guys because I think it should be fairly simple to understand. You don't even gotta say back in the day. We'll just say 10 years ago, if you was a head coach, it was simple. Number one, you're coaching the games. Number two, you're recruiting kids out of high school. And three, you're practicing for the games. That's it. Well, now as a head coach, not only are you doing all those things, you're now having to be, like he stated, the general manager. You're now meeting with kids and you're trying to outbid them against another team. There's a certain amount of money you can pay this guy, but then some guys think they're more valuable than this guy. It's just a complete mess. Then to go on top of that, we haven't even talked about this, the transfer portal. So not only are you recruiting guys out of high school, you're also trying to recruit guys in the transfer portal, and at the same time, trying to convince your players not to enter the portal. Being a college football head coach has always been one of the most stressful jobs out there, but in 2024, it's reached a new level. At least when you go to the NFL, all the contracts and the free agency, that's being worked with by other people. You, as a coach, you're not having to deal with that. At least if you don't want to. But at the college level as the head coach, you're having to do all of that. It's just not a fun time, and I'm glad a head coach has spoken up about this because I'm telling you, you're going to see more head coaches leave the college football game because of reasons just like this one. I would love to talk about that some more, but we are going to move on to the main topic, the main encore, the main reason you clicked onto this video. What in the world is going on with College Game Day? Yes, good old College Game Day. As a kid, I never miss an episode. Now, I have it on in the background. I don't focus on it as much as I used to, but it's still a legendary show. Just due to the legendary history of what it's been, Lee Corso putting on the headgear, it's a staple of college football. Although I don't think it's been as good as it used to be, it's still College Game Day. And yesterday, some big time news came out in the college football world that Nick Saban, the legend himself, he will be joining College Game Day. This is a big W for all of college football, and I don't think there's any fans out here whatsoever that are mad about this to the slightest of bit. Nick Saban's not just a great head coach, he has a great mind, and he offers a lot of great insight and perspective, and I can't wait to see him on game day. So that's huge itself, and as to where it stands, this may change, but for now at least, College Game Day, they're not getting rid of anybody else. Remember last year, they wound up getting rid of David Pollock and they added Pat McAfee. And if you look at the history of College Game Day, normally they only have 5 analysts on the show. And if you add Nick Saban and you don't replace anybody else, that'd be 6, including Lee Corso. As we all know though, Lee Corso, he's somewhat of the wild card because he's been sick recently, and not just recently, but in these past couple of years, and you never know if he's going to be there, or even if he is there, you never know if he's going to be 100%. And I can't tell you enough how much I've enjoyed Corso over the past couple of years, but his retirement, it's inevitable. It's coming soon. And I low-key wish he would already retire just so he can enjoy it. It seems like ESPN's just rolling him out there in a chair at this point. But I digress, not going to get into that too much. As long as Corso wants to go out there, hey, I'm all here for it. But there's this new narrative going around, and I'll show it to you right here, that ESPN, they're somewhat grooming Nick Saban to be the new Lee Corso, or my apologies, not the new Lee Corso because there's only one Corso, but basically take his position and spot. Which honestly makes a lot of sense because you'll have Saban and Corso, both of them on there this year, and I think they're going to work great together, and it's going to be good TV. And I'm not trying to talk bad about Corso, but I hate to see a legend like himself to go out the way he's going, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's not even really funny at this point. It's low-key, and this year's when I really felt this way about it. It's getting sad. He's just not what he once was, and I know it's just talking about sports, but still, it's a similar situation to Lou Holtz. Remember Lou Holtz those past couple of years? He should have been retired. He was just spewing nonsense. What's a good comparison? It's like, okay, I got it. Lee Corso's like Celtic Shaq. Y'all remember Celtic Shaq, right? He should have been retired. It's kind of like, all right, well, you're a legend, Shaq, but I'm not going to force you to retire, so if you want to keep playing, might as well. And looking back on it, I think more people should take the approach of Nick Saban because he went out on top, and that's how you want to be remembered. Regardless of all that, think about this. We're going to have Pat McAfee, which is a crazy guy himself on College Game Day, and I thought he did great last year. We're going to have him on the show, Nick Saban, the greatest coach of all time on the show, and Lee Corso, all together working. If you would have told me 3 years ago that Lee Corso, Pat McAfee, and Nick Saban would all be working together, I don't know what I would have told you. I'd have been like, what? What kind of multiverse are we living in? That doesn't even make sense, but here we are, and I ain't complaining. I know it's a long ways away. Is that how you say it? Yeah, it's a tongue twister. A long ways away. But I remember sitting up here telling you guys last year in the offseason, the offseason's going to fly by, and it did just that. Before you know it, we're going to be previewing all the big-time games. You're going to go to the pool a couple times. You're going to grill out, go to a 4th of July party, and you're going to look up, and college football season is right around the corner. I'm very curious, though. Let me know your thoughts on everything we talked about down below. But roll it